let your racism pour out in this way, okay? All right? You've insulted my faith. The danger today is not Muslims.
If only someone had cared for you, mate, when you were little, you wouldn't have turned into such a bilious, toxic dump of a human being.
It's very difficult to deny the fact that we are heading towards, and I'm not exaggerating here, Dan, we are heading towards something like a civil war.
So we knew they were lying to us, but now we have categorical and undeniable proof. And this is a huge moment for the disunited kingdom. Because after any major criminal incident, especially a terror attack, we have always turned to the police and politicians to tell us what they know. And while there's always been an appreciation that not all operational details can be shared, a broad culture of trust meant we assumed that by and large we were getting the facts, be it after 7/7 or the Ariana Grande bombing or London Bridge attacks. But not anymore. Not anymore. After an Islamist terror attack, the priority of the deep state and all authorities is now to work together to conceal and cover up the truth for the goal of what they describe as community cohesion. So they will lie and gaslight. They will plead for more time. They will bully the MSM into shutting up based on national security claims. And they will threaten independent media and citizen journalists with arrest or prison. Anything but actually get up and tell us what they know and what actually happened. So with Axel Rudagavana, after the Southport massacre, you'll remember he was a Welsh choir boy, not a convert to Islam who was studying Al-Qaeda manuals and producing ricin at home, even though they knew. They knew. And with Jihad al-Shami, he was a lovely Brit with Syrian heritage, with an upstanding trauma surgeon father, rather than a rapist, bigamist, Islam extremist who had pledged allegiance to ISIS from a family known for praising Hitler online. They knew. They knew, but they told us this.
There will be lots of questions that people would like answers to, and quickly. But please understand that some of this will take time. What I can say is that the highly visible response to these dreadful incidents will be sustained as we work to understand the full circumstances of what has happened.
Liar. They knew. But they couldn't tell us, right? Because what if we were angry? What if we protested on the streets? What if we heckled Slippery Starmer? What if we started asking difficult questions about Islam? So they lied yet again, launched another monumental cover-up as the MSM nodded along. And they even leaned into false flag attacks at mosques to claim the real people under threat were Muslims, not Christians or Jews. Tommy Robinson asked the question the MSM won't yesterday. Peacehaven mosque attack? An insurance job? It's also why you've heard very little about this horrifying court case this week. Islamist terror suspects bought assault rifles, handguns, and hundreds of rounds of ammunition in a plot to kill Jews in a Manchester attack likened to Paris 2015 massacre. Two extremists inspired by Islamic State bought assault rifles, handguns, and hundreds of rounds as they prepared for a suicide attack on the Jewish community in Manchester. That's a different case. It is a sick and twisted game plan by the deep state. But it's now common. And unfortunately, it's why we can no longer trust the scumbags in charge. Yesterday, the police had to admit the truth.
Al-Shami called 999, claiming responsibility for the attack. He also pledged allegiance to Islamic State. The attack continued, but thanks to the bravery of security staff, worshippers and the fast action of police, the attacker was prevented from gaining access to the synagogue.
Yes, but you knew that last week when you told us you had no idea who this guy was. Let's just remember what you actually knew. You knew he was a bigamist. You knew that there had been calls about his extremism and his Islam practices from worried neighbours. You knew that he was alleged of rape. You knew that he had called you to pledge his allegiance to ISIS, but you told us none of it. But of course, when Britain-hating anti-white lunatics like Yasmin Brown and Humza Useless are given unfettered opportunities to spread bullshit like this, then what hope is there?
Let your racism pour out in this way, okay? All right? You've insulted my faith. The danger today is not Muslims, it's Israel, it's America, it's Russia, it's Russia.
The UK government continues to sell arms to the government of Israel. So this doesn't, I'm afraid, whitewash what the UK government is doing in Gaza. And look, let me just remind you of your history, of course. Israel was founded on the back of a campaign of terror. British officials died in that campaign of terror. For example, the bombing of the King George Hotel.
But as Lee Kern countered, so he was a Muslim. His name was Jihad. He had 3 wives. He screamed Allah Akbar and stabbed people to death. There's only one thing for it. We need to attack middle-aged white men. That's the only way to end this sort of thing. But the truth is, even moderates on the right now know that this madness cannot continue unabated.
You know, I believe that within that community, they believe they police themselves, and that I clearly don't know this family, obviously, but, you know, so I don't know what kind of policing goes on there, but I speak very clearly about there is one set of rules in this country, and these are the rules that you and I and the rest of us live by. So maybe they do know in this community, maybe they do know at the mosque what's going on, but they are clearly keeping it within their own community.
Call was made by the attacker to police claiming to pledge allegiance to the so-called Islamic State. What a surprise. Are we in any way surprised by this? Here is a man whose name happens to be Jihad, whose father is in the public domain celebrating Hamas's attack on October the 7th as some sort of, his word, miracle. And I can't help but think back ever so slightly to the comments of Gary Neville, suggesting that here we have a terrible attack in Manchester, about which he's absolutely right, going on then to say the angry white men who are flying flags dividing us. Well, we have another Islamist-inspired terror attack that has killed innocent people. Are the angry white men the bigger problem? Obviously not. Obviously and completely not. And I think maybe a few scales need to fall from a few eyes on this one. What is the biggest problem of domestic terrorism in this country that MI5 are dealing with? It's this.
Well, yeah, it is. But go and speak to every other host on your goddamn radio station, mate. Remember, behind the hate marches, which are due to continue in London this weekend despite Donald Trump's sensational Gaza peace deal, there is the reality that British Jews no longer feel safe. A tragic scenario outlined beautifully but painfully by Douglas Murray in this week's Spectator cover story. He writes, in the immediate aftermath of al-Shami's attack, police said they were searching for a motive, until the attacker's name came out and turned out to literally be Jihad. The BBC speculated that the attack may have occurred due to increase in rhetoric from the far right. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood told GB News, the only person responsible for this attack is the attacker himself. In fact, attacks like this happen for a whole range of reasons, not least an increase in the rhetoric and lies of people who have spent decades spewing hate against Jews in general and the world's one Jewish state in particular. Hate crimes against Jews in Britain have almost doubled in the 2 years since the 7th of October 2023. The peak came in the 6 months after Hamas's bloody attack and reached the second highest on record in the first half of this year. And as Slippery Starmer tried to take some of the glow of Trump's deal today, I'm sorry, I just had to burst his bubble. Responding, "Zip it, loser. You tried to fuck it up with your recognition of a Palestinian state at the height of negotiations to appease the hard left of your deranged party." But here's the thing. The hard left are never going to end this. They will never accept that it's Trump who will end up bringing peace through strength to the Middle East. If you're enjoying what we're doing here on Outspoken, please consider joining our thriving community over on Substack, www.outspoken.live. You can sign up completely for free, but Substack is so important to me. It is a free speech platform. It protects me from big tech cancellation. Plus, you get to communicate directly with me. Head on over www.outspoken.live, enter your email address, and sign up today.
They're smart, but they're not smart enough. Oh, my microphone's broken. They're smart, but they're not smart enough. They have been covered by these liberal cities for so many years. And that's why we're all working with Treasury, with all these different departments, to find the criminal conspiracy.
Okay. I'm just given. Yeah, I was just given a note by the Secretary of State saying that we're very close to a deal in the Middle East, and they're going to need me pretty quickly. So I will take a couple of more questions.
Having the ability to use tariffs to help me make a point. The tariffs have brought peace to the world. I'm telling you, they brought peace to the world, and not only here, but with so many other deals. You know, I've made 7 peace deals where countries were, in many cases, 30, 31 years, 135, 137 years. They've been fighting and millions of people being killed, and I brought peace. And I did it through, in not all cases, but probably in at least 5 of the 7 that we've done so far, it was through trade. That we're not going to deal with people that fight. We're not going to deal, and we're going to put tariffs on you. We're not going to let you deal in the United States. We'll put tariffs on you. And without that, without the tariffs, I mean, far more than even the money that we're taking in, which is trillions of dollars, essentially trillions of dollars, far much more importantly, it gives you a tremendous road to peace and the saving of millions of lives, just millions and millions of lives.
Give the man the Nobel Peace Prize now. But just look at the genuinely deranged reaction from the left. I mean, James O'Brien
writes, "You must be
LBC.
gutted that Trump brokered this peace deal." Seriously, I cannot believe the amount of space I occupy in your head. If even on a day like today, your first thought is me. What you also forgot is that I have a history button on my texts. So I know you're the guy who wrote, Khan said that Palestine should not be run by a Westerner. Well, maybe London shouldn't be run by a Muslim. So there you go. You hate integration, you hate democracy, and you hate Muslims. And almost inevitably, on another day, why should everyone else prop up families who can't afford to bring up kids? These people shouldn't have kids if they can't afford to care for them. If only someone had cared for you, mate, when you were little, you wouldn't have turned into such a bilious, toxic dump of a human being.
A toxic dump of a human being. That is how James O'Brien feels about British patriots. But trust me, even peace in Gaza will not stop the violence of the woke and Islamist extremist left in the UK, who are now following the US ANTIFA playbook. I mean, last night in Whitechapel, we saw this coalition of the wretched literally bringing violence to the streets of East London in order to protest against mothers and grandmothers who don't want their young daughters and granddaughters to be sexually assaulted by illegal immigrants on the street. Young Bob was able to ascertain the type of people we were dealing with pretty quickly.
Hello. That's not very nice. I was just going to pose a question.
You're a racist prick and we don't want to talk to you.
The other side, you.
Normally say hello, Bob. How are you doing?
Yeah. So I want to know, the people that we import into this country, do you believe they accept transgenderism as a valid political or philosophical idea? Hey lady, I'm not the one who decided to go up to people that I disagree with.
What are you harassing women?
I'm not harassing women. She in fact wanted to come here because she's an attention whore.
I don't really feel safe with guys like this around.
Do you really? Wait, do I look particularly threatening towards women?
You're making a woman feel unsafe.
Callum, can we agree that I am not threatening? A racist? I'm not a racist, nor am I intimidating towards women.
No, Bob, you made her feel unsafe. I lost all respect for you now.
I think a man who actually has a penis makes her scared. To be honest with you, a man that actually agrees with their biological sex scares that woman. Live and direct right now outside of Whitechapel, and what we have is a full cordon, a full kettle. They cannot get out right now. They've got the whole police to block them. They cannot leave or enter.
So in the midst of that madness, enter Sarah White, the fearless pink lady, in pink body paint this time, and I have to say, looking incredible, decided to single-handedly dismantle the hard lefters who literally don't give a shit about the safety of young girls.
You need actual facts.
The fact that you are here and no one is making any problem is just a proof. No one's giving you any hate. You know,
no, and we're not giving you hate though. We're not giving you any hate because surely
everyone is vulnerable when they're attacked.
Our children are most vulnerable. Just 1 minute. It's all children. Our children. No, but children are the most precious.
Well,
our children are most
okay.
precious.
What about children? What about children that Israel is killing every day? What about 20,000 Palestinians?
Different from the UK.
I knew that word was going to be all that. Take your left even with you. Adios.
Support your argument, you go swearing.
Yeah, but no one has to be religious. You don't have to believe in religion. Religion, to some people, is just made up.
You know, I tell you what I believe.
He was making a statement.
My friend.
They're up and down the country. We see people that are anti-Semitic.
Right, forget this.
See
Forget the religion. Have you got anything to say about the young 14-year-old girl that was sexually assaulted in Epping? Yes or no?
Of course, it's a bad
You have
thing.
anything to say about Jimmy Savile?
Whenever it happens.
What do you have to say about Jimmy
Yeah,
Savile?
he's disgusting man. And absolutely disgusting individual. And good riddance to him. I'm glad he's dead. I'm glad he's dead. Shame he wasn't alive.
We're here to demonstrate against sexual assault of young children.
But what about
And you're
all
counter-protesting
women?
us.
What about all women and children? What about the grooming gang scandal? That is predominantly Pakistani men that groom young white girls. What about that? So you can bring up Jimmy Savile, you can bring up a lot of people. There are bad in every culture.
Yeah, Prince Andrew.
Yeah, Prince Andrew.
We're not fan of Prince Andrew. If you watch me on the telly, I'll quote Prince Andrew. What are you talking about?
No one in the
This isn't about
UK
the colour
likes
of the
Prince
skin.
Andrew.
This is about peacefully demonstrating for the safety of our women and our children. And you're counter-demonstrating us.
So
what does that say for you?
Come with actual
Morons.
facts. Come with
So just tell me a bit about...
All women and children in the UK, not women and children in another country. Yeah.
So including the ones that maybe need asylum for war and things like that, who got protested out of a hotel in Epping. Are they not worth
What? There's no women and children in the hotel in Epping. It's all men. There are no women. It's 138 men.
The women and children that do need help.
Where are the women and children? Where are they?
No, I'm not.
I'm asking. Where are they?
You said in this country. You said
yes.
women and children in this country.
Yeah.
Need assistance for all women and children, right?
Yes.
Would you also support the women and children that flee other countries to this country?
What, France? France?
Any country.
What, they flee France?
France,
Are they at war? Is France at war? I'm a mother. One moment. As a mother, I would never, ever endanger my children's lives when I am at a point of safety. So to put them on a rubber dinghy and cross a channel, I would question their integrity as a mother.
Hear, hear. For analysis today, I'm joined by the great Phillip Kiszely, the cultural historian, academic author, political commentator, and senior fellow at the New Culture Forum, who argues the demographics of Manchester, where Jihad al-Shami was radicalised, help explain the deep trouble we are now in. Look at this. Dr. Kiszely writes, currently writing about Greater Manchester's population change. It's remarkable stuff. 2021 census, Rochdale, 18.8% Muslim. Oldham, 24.4%. Bolton, 20%. Taking Bolton as an example, you can really see the sheer force of Muslims, Islam in comparison to other demographics or religions. Hindu, just 2%. Buddhism, 0.2%. Sikhism, 0.1%. Judaism, 0.1%. He argues in 10 years' time, there will be little or no Western influence in any of these towns. That's when minority rights will seek to exist. If you aren't worried, you're stupid. We are looking at unprecedented levels of cultural upheaval. I do culture for a living, and I simply can't comprehend the enormity of the change coming. Bearing in mind that many members of non-integrated communities simply do not show up on such surveys, we can assume the Muslim demographic is much bigger across the board. And Dr. Phillip Kiszely joins me now. But first, as I've entered my 40s, aging has become ever-present in my life. My body doesn't back up the way it used to, and I've found that it's far easier to get injured when trying to work out, far harder to recover too. But I believe one of the best aging breakthroughs of the last decade is qualia senolytic. And I'm going to explain why. Senolytics are a science field revolutionizing human aging. A big culprit behind that middle-aged feeling can be so-called zombie cells that linger in your body after their useful function, wasting your energy and resources. Now, those zombie cells can lead to less energy, slower workout recovery, joint discomfort, and basically feeling old. Now, qualia senolytic is a groundbreaking, clinically tested supplement with 9 vegan plant-derived compounds that help your body naturally eliminate these zombie cells, helping you feel years younger in just months. But here's what I absolutely love about this product. You take it just 2 days a month, helping your body naturally eliminate zombie cells to age better at the cellular level. Now, since taking qualia senolytic, I've felt like I've turned back the clock. I have higher energy, less soreness after exercise, and a big boost in productivity too. That all equals feeling so much better. So experience the science of feeling younger by going to qualialife.com/Dan for up to 50% off your purchase. Use the code DAN, that's DAN, for an additional 15%. So that's QUALIA life.com/Dan for an extra 15% off your purchase. Your older self will thank you. And by the way, thanks to Qualia for sponsoring this episode. Now, let's get back to it. Phillip, so brilliant to have you back on Outspoken. But I want to kick off with this really disturbing breaking news, which is that to me, it is now categorical that we were yet again lied to, and the Manchester police and the deep state, the authorities, all the politicians were complicit in a cover-up last week when we were not given any information about this Islamist terrorist Jihad al-Shami, and it's been a drip, drip, drip over the past few days that make us realise actually they knew exactly what they were dealing with, right down to, Philip, a phone call on the day from Jihad to the police revealing that he was working on behalf of ISIS. They didn't tell us a thing.
A phone call from Jihad to the police. That really sums it up, Dan, doesn't it? I mean, it really does. I was just listening to your monologue there, and I have to say it was really sending cold chills down my spine, because I'm from there. I'm from North Manchester. My mother lives in Prestwich, which is just across from Heaton Park, and I used to live in Crumpsall, where the synagogue is. A couple of my best friends got married there. Another really good friend was a best man at his mate's wedding. So this is very, very close to home to me. And we knew straight away, before any of the information came out, we knew precisely what this is. And yes, it dripped out. We had the name Jihad coming out. And from there on, you can just put all the pieces together. But what happens every time they withhold crucial information, okay, and they do this time and time again, what happens is that bond, that trust between the authorities, the police, the government, and the general public just disintegrates. But the problem is it can't come back. We know from history that this stuff cannot be mended. Once you don't trust the authorities, then you're in a really, really difficult situation. Now, we've had unrest every week in one form or another, up and down the country, every single week. And it tends to revolve around Jew hate, okay? And every now and again, we stand up, we find our voices, and we fight back against it. And we fight back against the awfulness that is the Pakistani rape gangs. We fight back against the awfulness that is mass immigration. And we fight back against the awfulness that is the sheer bloody lies of the government, okay? We do that occasionally. But if you think about the broader picture, Dan, and I'm thinking specifically about anti-Semitism here, 1 in 5 people in this country are anti-Semitic. That is just utterly appalling, okay? But if you think about all of this stuff and you think about everything that's happened, it's very difficult to deny the fact that we are heading towards, and I'm not exaggerating here, Dan, we are heading towards something like a civil war, okay? We're in the foothills of this total destruction. We've got low-level violence, and every now and again we have an atrocity. When we have an atrocity, they try and lie about it rather than wanting to protect the wider community. And if they wanted to protect the wider community, Dan, they would say straight away, okay, this has happened. This is all the information you need. Okay. Andy Burnham, who was who's the mayor of Greater Manchester, the only thing he said, first of all, was, oh, just stay away from the area. Not even a kind of, this is a tragedy, this is appalling. He did say that later. But he just said, oh, stay away from the area. Now, you know that all of the people who are advising him, the government, all of these people are saying, you must not say this, you must not say that, you must not say that, because we're frightened of 2 things. And this is ultimately what they're frightened of, Dan, okay? They're frightened of Islamism and they're frightened of the hard left because, as we know, they are complete nutters. But they are also frightened of the British people because they know the British people have been pushed to the absolute brink. They know that white working class girls in the places that I've just described in that tweet, okay, in places like Bolton, Rochdale and Oldham in particular, they know that white working class girls are just fair game to Pakistani rape gangs, and they have done nothing about it. They've covered it up for decades. It's not just years, it's decades. They know that we know that now because all of that stuff has come out, and it's come out through independent journalists like you and me, okay? It's not the BBC, it's not the national broadcasters. No, they're all playing they know we know that. Okay, and they are frightened of us. So this situation, this inflammable situation, just cannot go on. And I look at these places. I look at Oldham. What did I say? A quarter quarter Muslim. Rochdale, it's about 18 or 19%. These places have different rules. They have negotiated policing. Okay, if you're gay, if you're Jewish, if you're white, you simply can't live there. Okay, or you need protection. We're in a situation where this can't go on. And as you say, the police are doing nothing about it. Rather, they're covering it up and hoping it's going to go away. Dan, it's not going to go away.
And then you note the elite class and the reaction of the elite class. And I know another local to you was Gary Neville, who's blamed the whole situation on middle-aged angry men this week. But did you see that attack from James O'Brien too? You know, calling someone a toxic dumpster of a human being.
I think if you're going around calling someone a toxic dumpster of a human being, someone who you don't know, someone who's actually watching your show, that says more about you than it does about them. Okay, so right, I'm actually, again, I'm from round the corner from Gary Neville. We went to neighbouring schools, so I saw what he said, you know, which was just classic champagne socialist elite cultural snobbery, trying to talk down to the plebs. What he said in his little video. So I did a little responsive video that kind of went viral as well. And I said in that video, Dan, and I think it's really important, and I think you've said a similar kind of thing, that actually he is a danger to people because what he's doing is...
I think he's a national security threat. Honestly, you can laugh at it, but I think he's a national security risk.
I wish I was laughing, Dan. I'm not laughing because I think you're absolutely right, because what he's doing, he's emboldening these Islamist nutters. And they know that they have these useful idiots like him who are going to just defend anything they do, and not only defend, but deflect to absolutely innocent people, the kinds of people, let's be clear, Dan, the kinds of people he's talking about here are British taxpayers, the people who get up and go out to work, the people who contribute, the people who don't blow up the place, the people who have a vested interest in the heritage and history of this place, okay? And I just get really... Sorry if I sound really upset about this, but as I say, it's so close to home. I feel the danger, not least because, as you know, my partner's Jewish and she's Israeli, and we live up here, and all of this stuff is happening on a daily basis. Jews in places like Manchester, Leeds, and of course in London are frightened of walking the streets because they know that this anti-Semitism, this kind of potential violence is legitimated by people like him and by a government as well that's also just recognized the fantasy anti-Semitic la land of Palestine. Okay, it doesn't exist, it never will exist, but the government has just recognized that, and guess what, on the back of it there's an Islamist attack.
And Philip, you talk about civil war, and I think those scenes in Whitechapel last night were a precursor, because this isn't going away now. When you have, I mean, I've described it as a coalition of the wretched, right? Yeah. I mean, you've got the mad Islamists covering their faces with kafirs, but then you've got the mad hard left trans extremists who in America, as we know, are increasingly turning to violence. And then you've got the hard left woke mob, and they are coming together now for these violent protests. I mean, the scenes were close to a riot at certain points last night, Philip, and think they were protesting against mothers last night. That's what the counter protest was. I mean, scenes like this, which are not one-off scenes now. These are happening up and down the country, Philip, on a almost daily basis now, seem to be the precursor for a civil war. But of course, the government's response is, let's shut down all protest altogether.
It is. I mean, I was just listening to the footage in your monologue, and you showed Hamza Useless there. And very interestingly and very tellingly, Dan, he didn't say our country when he was talking about Britain. He said your country. And I think that says an awful lot about what these people think. They are a fifth column. They do not belong to this country. And that's not me saying they don't belong to this country. That's them. They feel as though they do not belong to this country. This country is not their country. They are actively working against it to undermine it. And if they are festooned in this kind of regalia, Middle Eastern regalia, kafirs, but they're also festooned in Palestinian flags, and they're also festooned in rainbow flags and progress flags. All of this stuff is a kind of anti-Western quasi-religion. All of these things come together as a means, a kind of proxy means of saying, no, we hate you. And not only do we hate you, we are signaling that we are a clear and present threat to you. We are signaling violence to you, and that violence will come. Now, the government's response to this is to say, oh, well, please don't do that. Please don't march this weekend. You know, Jews have just been slaughtered in the street like so much meat. Please don't march this weekend because we don't want you to do that. The minute the ordinary, decent people kind of campaign outside some of these migrant hotels, the police are on them like crazy. And not only are they on them like crazy, they're shipping in bought and paid for leftist agitators to really push back against them as well. So they can say, oh, look, the far right are causing trouble. And who are the far right here? The far right are women and children who don't want to be raped by illegal immigrants who shouldn't be in this country. I think we've got to say it as it is. And one of the real great strengths of this show is that you do that day in, day out, week in, week out. And this is the only way, Dan, that we're going to make any difference here. If we keep calling it out, if we keep pushing back, if we stop being afraid of name calling and, oh, you're racist or you're transphobic or you're any of those things. No, I'm not. I'm absolutely not. And I'm convinced and confident in myself to know that. And I will push back against any pro-Palestinian, any anti-Semite, any Britain hater, and any anti-Western lunatic that comes in my path. Because I'm at the stage now where I know things are almost beyond crisis point, okay? And I have platforms and you have platforms, so I will use a platform, as you do, to really push back and make sure that these people understand that we do want to fight back and we will fight back.
We must, absolutely right. Crisis point, as you say, verge of a civil war, as you say. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.